I have an original effect to share with you today. It involves the 4 kings and the 4 queens. And so what I need you to do to begin is to mix the kings face up, face down, however you would like. So you might flip, a couple of them there and then just randomize these. That's fine. Same thing for the queens. Flip any number. Maybe you just want one, any number, and then randomize the queens. Now stack either pile on top of the other. It's a free choice. Now in an effort to further mix the cards, why don't we go ahead, I will deal them out in a triangle like this. And now you're going to be deciding everything, actually, in the sense of how many times things are done, how packets are flipped or not flipped, and how the packets are stacked. What order? Okay, so for example, in fact, really from this point, I could have you just handle the cards. I could sit back and just watch you. So I've done a left-right shuffle. So you're free to stack left on right or right on left. Or if you would like, you can randomly flip over either one and then randomly stack. Okay, so maybe you think, okay, I'll randomly flip the left, but then stack the right one on top of the left. That would be just fine. Okay. Now we can do this sort of left-right dealing as many times as you like. Maybe this time you want right on left, but no flipping. Maybe we'll do one more. Okay, what about here? Stack the left on right, but don't flip. That's just fine. We can deal into 4 piles in this way. Okay. And here what we can do is stack the top row on top of the bottom or bottom on top. What would you like? Bottom on top. Okay. We can stack these with random flipping of either one if you would like to. You want to flip the left one? How would you like these 2 piles stacked? Right on left. Okay. So we can do as many of these as you would like. Okay. Also, if you're interested, you can stack like the columns here, rows here, the columns of cards on top of each other. Okay, your choice. Would you like either one of these flipped? And then what order would you like them stacked? You want the top one flipped and the other one stacked on top of the top one. Okay, very good. Why don't we do one more of those? Now what I'm doing is I'm showing you different things you can do or offer to the spectator. Okay, so you can stack bottom on top, top on bottom. You can stack the first column on top of the second or vice versa. Something else you can do that's kind of fun is do kind of a diagonal flip. So for example, this one here would be diagonally flipped and stacked on top of that one. Same thing here. Now we have random stacking and flipping, however you would like. Maybe you want the right one flipped. That's fine. And then the left one put on top of the right. Okay, so those are all free choices that you can make, or more importantly, the spectator can make. Okay? And now at this point, what we're going to do is, given the chaos we've created here, so you can kind of see the mess that we've created, we're going to try to find the order within this chaotic situation here. And we're going to do it in a very interesting way. We're simply going to spell out the words that actually describe what this packet is made of. Okay, so let me just show you. So for example, we have 4 kings here. So I'm going to go F, O, U, and then set down the R. And then I said kings, right? K, I, N, G, set down the S. And we also have 4 queens. F, O, U, set down the R. And then queens. Q, U, E, E, N, S. And believe it or not, despite all of the chaotic motion and movement of the cards, decided by random choices that you freely made, we have somehow found perfect order within this chaos of shuffling. How's that? Well, believe it or not, we have found all 4 kings. And of course, we have separated them from the queens yet again. Okay, whoa, how in the world did we do that? And so this is just one way that you could actually frame this effect. A name I thought to give this routine is chaos in the castle, because we have these kings and queens, some of them being flipped and then randomly stacked in all these different ways and dealt out into different numbers of piles, and various ones have now been randomly flipped and then randomly stacked according to the spectator's whim. But despite all of those free choices, this rather magical spelling procedure will pull apart and bring order to the chaos that you help create. Okay, so how does this work? Well, you just do everything I did. The spectator is free to flip over any number here. They can flip over 2 or 1 or none of them if you like. Kind of a good number to work with is the number that I used, like 2 here face up and maybe 1 here, but you're leaving it up to the spectator. So, they might want 3 here, and that's fine. Okay, so it's going to work fine regardless of the choice they make. Now, they are free to randomly stack these. Now, the next step is important for protecting this packet of cards from all of the crazy shuffling we're going to inflict on it. Okay, so what we do here, and if you followed my channel, we're doing this special triangle deal. And what this does, as long as you pick up the first pile that you dealt out first in the stacking and then stack in opposite order, this will convert the kings and queens into something called a Bessie sequence of order 8. Okay, now all that means then is you'll have a queen, king, king, queen, and that will be followed by a king, queen, queen, king. Okay, so this will be a king, this will be a queen, and then the last one will be a king. Well, this arrangement is extremely rare and powerful in the world of mathematical card magic, because you can now put this packet through hundreds of unique shuffling procedures and not harm the underlying structure, which means at the end you'll be able to separate the kings and the queens because the organization of the cards won't be completely destroyed. There'll be some order there that you can take advantage of that's hidden from the spectator. Okay? And one thing I haven't done a lot on my channel is work with Bessie sequences in which we're card flipping. Okay? And so you just do any of the ones I mentioned. So left, right, random flip either one, and then random stack them. Okay? And then I showed you, now there's many other mixing procedures you can do, but I try to keep it just to these 2. So you can deal out into a square, and then here, top row on the bottom, bottom on top, that's fine. First column on top of the second, second on top of the first, okay? Now beware that you can't do this, okay, for the 4. You can randomly flip them once you get down to 2 piles, okay? So maybe they want bottom on top. Now at this point, you can flip either one, randomly stack, that's fine, okay? So you can do as many of those as the spectator likes. And then this spelling removing procedure is something that Werner Miller devised for undoing a Bessie sequence structure. And it's extremely clever. Okay, and I honestly don't know how he came up with it, but it works. So if we're wanting now to pull the kings and queens apart, this is what we do, and it's exactly what I showed you. Okay, so it's what I demonstrated. Okay, so the idea is that we have 4 kings here and 4 queens. Well, just use that information. So 4. So I have a little curvy arrow here indicating that as you state these letters, the top card at the moment gets moved to the bottom of the packet. And you do that until you get to the very last letter in the word that you're spelling, and then that card goes to the table. Okay, so like maybe I'll put it over here, work with it, and you can follow along, and I won't cover it up. So F O U, and then R goes down. Okay, kings, K I N G, then S goes down, and now we do 4 queens. F O U R, and then queens. Q U E, E, N, S. Okay. And you're guaranteed to have separated the kings from the queens. Isn't that amazing? Okay. So, thank you for watching, and I encourage you to take a look at other videos on the Absolute Math Magic channel.